Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Matias Madou. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Secure Code Warrior. Thank you for tuning in into this fireside chat. With me today, I'm super pleased to have with me Dilip Panjwani. Welcome, Dilip.
Hi, Matias. Good morning to you too. And good morning to all the audience on the call today. I am Dilip Panjwani. I head information security and IT governance at LTI and been with the company for nearly around 3.5 years now and around 2 decades in the security industry.
Thank you very much, Dilip. Thank you for this introduction. I scanned through your resume, absolutely fantastic bio that you have. You've touched on a lot of different things, application security, network security, name something in security, and you have touched on it. So I think we can dive into a lot of topics today. One thing I would like to talk about is tools and people in your organization. Hey, security, it has to be carried by the entire organization. But hey, how about your organization? How about your subset in there? How do you rally people around security, and how can tools help?
Sure, Matias. So I think when you're looking at security, the overall program, when you are defining it from an organization perspective, it has to have knowledge about something for the security realm, for the users that are responsible to help you as your extended arm. It's not just information security or the IT function that is responsible for security. And hence, every user or every function in the organization needs to be involved in that program. You need to make them realize exactly what is their role and why is it that they need to participate in this program to secure the organization at all times. And above all, when you are making them responsible, you need to give them something back as part of this whole deal as to what is it in it for them when they contribute towards this program.
Absolutely, yes. And I think if they don't see the value, then it's not going to happen. So if the people do not see the value, it's not going to happen. So in particular, in your organization, is it more around, hey, we want to make sure that our customers feel safe in using our systems? What is the main driver in the organization for you to rally your troops around building a secure environment, secure software?
Sure. So it's a twofold approach. One, definitely because we are a services organization and we deal in providing services and products to our customers. It's driven from their requirements to ensure that they get the assurance as part of our delivery that we are a secure organization to do business with. On the other side, since we are ourselves an enterprise organization and we have our own IPR, our processes, and our data at organization level, we need to ensure that the users are aware of what this data is, what is the sensitivity around it, and how to protect it at all times.
Do you see, so that's very interesting, especially the first one. Do you see security as a strategic differentiator for you and for your customers?
Definitely. I think that counts in the top three if a customer has to really review a partner today. Because prior to joining LTI and prior to that in FIS, I had been to the services side of the table as a customer. And definitely when you look at an outsourcing partner or a strategic partner, the first thing that you want to look at is how will they handle your data? How is their connectivity to your organization going to be handled? And what are the risks that would be carried when you get into an engagement with them? And that's not a one-time engagement. It has to be a continuous engagement. And hence that becomes a very critical element from a security-aware culture and secure principles around the organization.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's not a one-time thing. So if you look into your organization, why are people motivated for security? Do they is there something that they say, well, you know what, we come through this particular organization, we come to LTI and we know that they want to build secure software, or like how do people in the organization rally around security?
So as I started off with, because one of our key driving factors is definitely our customers and the regulations that the customers have to follow. So when it comes to that perspective, if you want to do business with the customer, you need to ensure that you are meeting best-in-class security solutions and cultures so that they are getting the assurance and the confidence to do business with you. And once you have engaged with them at the first level, it doesn't stop there. As part of your continuous delivery of services, again, the customer continuously evaluates you on how you are dealing with the operations in a secure fashion? Are you having any breaches as part of the delivery services, or is there any data leaks that can happen, or any malware getting introduced? Those perspectives are considered very seriously by customers, and they even can consider to the point of taking decisions to terminate a contract if the partner is not really serious about security.
Interesting. So what I see, and maybe you can shed some more light on this, is yes, it's more and more in contracts, these requirements around security, but at the same time, there are organizations like yours, clearly, that say, you know what, it's in the contract, but we do it actually by default. We are already there. We make secure software, and we have a secure culture. Is that a correct statement?
Definitely, because unless you have a key differentiator in form of security being a priority for the organization, that really does not help you much, because today if you see the third-party supply chain hacks that have been happening of late very recently, be it SolarWinds or the likes, that itself creates alarming bells around all the industries on how is it that the services of the partner is going to be handled, how well are the processes are mature enough and people aware enough to be able to meet security guidelines to avoid any lapses or introduce any malware or introduce any vulnerabilities.
That's an interesting one. So it's a constant improvement in all of these areas. For you today, and up to you how much you want to say, like, what is your main focus today? What is your area that you say, yeah, you know what, over there, we're making a big effort, we're making a big improvement?
So for us, how we look at the program is we drive the program from a maturity assessment perspective, which is a continuous program for us at LTI. We do continuous assessments on how our culture as well as our tools and processes operate on a continuing level. We put a score against it, and then we keep on checking that every quarter and every year when we are revisiting the scores, is there an improvement in that or no? Are our processes moving more towards integration and automation or no? And how is that helping reduce down the number of security incidents, as well as give more confidence to customers with regards to better governance principles as well as better practices to be able to deliver secure services?
I hear a lot of good terms, which tells me that you're moving more and more into the DevOps space. I hear metrics, measuring everything, measure as much as you can. I hear automation, trying to automate as much as you can so that there's less human error. So where are you in that journey towards DevOps?
Sure. So from a DevOps perspective, we adopted a slightly different approach than many of our peer organizations. We do not make security team as the spark or the center bottleneck for all the processes to be ensured as being met or no when you do secure development or new system deployments, for instance. We have, when you have a security application assessment at the start, that is where the information security team gets involved. They work on the architecture, the design, the integration requirements, and profile the application to zone it into the right bucket where it would fall based on its data that is being processed or handled in it, as well as what other tools and application it interfaces with in the organization. Once it's in, then I think as part of the development cycle, the application security testings, the scans and rescans which are required are completely handed over to the development team themselves. We have created the policy profile and scan profiles in the tools, and we are given access to them to scan at will whenever they need to do in their applications. And as part of change management, they are required to submit the clean reports before they are authorized to submit the change for implementations.
Nice. So it seems like you're touching on a lot of activities already into the SDLC. I hear threat modeling. I hear scanning. I assume there's potentially penetration testing as well at the end. What's the most important part for you in that whole cycle, or is there not any most important part for you?
So I think there are two parts of it here, Matias. One would definitely be ensuring that an application, when it goes live or when an application goes under change program, there you have the scans being done and all the vulnerabilities being fixed before it goes into production. At times that might not be possible. There might be some pages that really go in the heat of things to really meet some deadlines, and that goes through risk sign-offs. Now that is where the main crux of security team comes into picture to discuss with the application team, identify what is the severity of the risk and compensating control that can be identified to deploy. And finally, the last leg, that is the residual risk, has to be assessed for, and how can I really plug that also to make it as low as possible? Can I put it behind the WAF and ensure that there is some virtual patching enabled, for example, so that my development team gets some breather to go and deploy the patch on the application level while I'm protecting it from the outsiders?
Nice. What I hear is definitely tools and the people behind the tools, a combination of both. In your organization, how do you look at the balance between the number of security people versus the number of developers in that entire process? On average, we see like between 0 and 2 people per 100 developers are responsible for security. In your organization, if you look at that, is that in line with the average, or where are you in that?
It's almost similar practice for us also at LTI, but how we have taken care of this is to constantly use drip irrigation based security awareness and training for our developers and IT teams. So that it's just not like a one-time annual refresher program. You attend a 30 minutes training, do assessment, and say, okay, I'm security aware. It has to be continuous. You have to constantly keep checking on the process is being followed or no. How many incidents are you seeing in that space? Are they related to bypassing controls or lack of awareness and negligence or ignorance? And accordingly tackle the problems with your security program being tuned to meet those requirements.
So I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more with your statement that it is a continuous thing. Also, training is a continuous thing. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. 30 minutes a year is not going to do the trick. Let's see. With your developers. So how security skilled are they? Like back in the day, let me give you my view. 10 years ago, developers, well, they didn't really care about security. Everything was done at the end. Everything was behind the WAF, and that was pretty much it. As you just outlined, there's more to it today. There's more to it. There's a risk assessment in the beginning. But still, developers are like, maybe not. I'm not so sure. How is it in your organization? How are developers reacting to security?
Well, we had a similar situation a couple of years ago. But then what we did was we had a discussion heart to heart with the developers, understood what is the problems out there. What they look at is it's more time consuming and a more elaborate process, which hits them in the agile way of developments. So we said, okay, let's look at it, how you want to really go ahead and do the testing. Because earlier, the main point was I finish my development possibly 11 p.m. in the night. And when I want to scan it, I submit a request to InfoSec and they are not available in the night. So I have to wait for next 12 hours for a security person to come back to office, scan the application, give me a report by evening, and then I can work only after 24 hours, which delays my entire program. I said, okay, let's go ahead, give you access to the scanning tools. The profiles are already built in based on your application profile, threat modeling already done. All you have to do is simply go there, click on your URL, hit a scan button, wait for possibly 30 minutes to a couple of hours. You get a report, check out the red items, go and fix them, rescan. Once you get green, go ahead and go live. There's no requirement of security team to be part of your change management anymore. If you have any items you cannot fix, and in your risk acceptance, then you come back to security team. That's where we become partners and we work with you to identify how to reduce that risk.
Absolutely fantastic. And I hear a lot of organizations that are trying to figure out this exact thing that you just explained today, actually, because they're still in that, they say they're DevOps, but they're still in that waterfall mechanism, and they're trying to break out of that waterfall mechanism, and they're trying to figure out, like, hey, how can I get into that rapid feedback cycle? How can I do more myself as a developer, get the feedback that I want? So absolutely fantastic. And for the people on this call that are watching, I would assume if they have questions around how to do that in a good way, they can reach out to you to have some tips and tricks on that. Any final words, Dilip, before we wrap this up?
I think that is just the last item, which I'll again repeat as an overall summary. Basically, do not consider security as a one-time program, or do not consider it as something that is a compliance need. It is something where you make your respective teams from the organization, whether be it your business users or your development team or IT users, feel that they are included as part of your extended team. they need to understand that information security is not a responsibility of InfoSec team or the management alone. It has to be for every person in the organization. And they have a role to play, without which, as we always say, the user is the weakest link in the chain. And hence, even if one person is ignorant or is not aware and equipped, that is a vulnerable position for the organization.
Excellent wrap up, Dilip. This was a fantastic chat. Thank you very much for accepting the invite to having this chat. By far, you guys are ahead of the curve in terms of embedding security into the organization. So if people have questions, they should reach out to you for tips and tricks. Thank you very much, Dilip.
Thank you, Matias. Pleasure to be here.